Welcome to the Indie Author Showcase. I'm Chad Robert Morgan.
Hi, I'm be like, yo, you know,
Way to give us your maximum effort.
yeah,
This is my reluctant partner in crime, Alex.
very reluctant,
Very, very reluctant.
incredibly.
Yes. Anywho.
Anywho, yeah, I'd rather be doing anything but this, but we've covered that multiple times, so, you know.
Yes, and again, thank you for your support.
I mean, it beats getting stabbed.
I would like to think the bar's a little higher than that.
It beats,
I mean, I'm sure it beats a swift kick to the nuts. Oh, good Lord. Anywho, moving on.
as emotional as it's happened to me enough times, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that at this point, low-key. It's happened too many times.
Anywho.
I've just dealt with it now.
Anywho. So, this will be airing tomorrow. We are recording very late. So I have to edit and splice this and upload it for tomorrow morning. We will do one more next week, and then we are going to be no. Next week we will not be doing it because next week will be Vampire Weekend.
I mean, I won't be there.
No, you're ditching me. Vampire Weekend.
Yeah.
On the plus side, I don't have to pay you.
Yeah.
So I will be at Vampire Weekend instead of doing this. So we'll be off for a week after this. And then we'll be back and we'll tell you how Vampire Weekend went. And then we will be off again as we do WonderCon.
So I am ecstatic. What can I say?
Anything, really, would be great. So we're going to do something a little bit different.
What?
Well, we're a little bit behind on the reading, and by us, I mean me. You're actually, I think, caught up because you've read the one book, Perennials, that I'm still trying to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, how far are you on The Knife's Edge?
A little over half.
Okay, so I think you're a little bit ahead of me on that one as well. So, one of the reasons I'm behind is I'm trying very, very hard to finish up my next book. I got about maybe 5 more chapters left to edit. Mm-hmm. We do have what I think is the final cover from Chris. So we can start making up cover designs and doing cover reveals. So I've just been very, very busy. I've actually kind of even taken a few days off because yesterday I had to go into the office for my day job and that took the whole day. I didn't record then, I didn't record the day, and I've been just kind of relaxing a little bit before I get back into it in earnest this weekend and hopefully try to get this book finished. Mm-hmm. So I am the one that's more behind than anything else, right? So we do whatever we do when we're behind. We start dipping into our comics and graphic novels because they are a much quicker, easier read. So what we have here are 2 comics and a very small, it's 24 pages novels, not I wouldn't even call it a novella. I wouldn't even call it a novella. This is, in fact, let's go ahead and start the review with this book here. So we met these people. This, what was the publishing company for this?
Published by Archive of the Odd.
Yes. So they were looking to do something a little bit more experimental, right? This is reminiscent of that book that was written by J.J. Abrams You know, the one that was made to look like a textbook, and the story is actually in all the notes scrolled in the margins and everything like that. The idea was it was made to feel like this was an authentic.
Or better yet, House of Leaves.
I don't know that one.
Oh, I own House of Leaves.
Okay.
It's a book. It's a book. It's okay. It is.
It's a book.
It's a book. It's hard to explain because the book is a book inside of a book. The book is about a guy who reads a book.
Okay.
Right? And it basically goes excerpt a chapter from the book followed by an excerpt of like the guy reading it, right? Like what he writes down in his journal, right? But as he reads the book about a movie that doesn't exist, right? The story is mainly told through the things he writes in the pages and the excerpts, like at the bottom, like the in the notes and the sources that they find. Those not the half the sources of fake anyways, but it's a really good story. There's a bunch of extra stuff at the end, like letters from the main character to his mom, while she was in the psych ward and stuff like that. So it's really well written. It tells a really good story. You just kind of gotta piece it together.
Also sounds vaguely like Never-Ending Story. Because that movie was based on the book. I never actually read the original book, but the movie was a boy reading the book, and the movie we were watching was the book he was reading, and then at the end he becomes part of the book. Mm-hmm. So the two storylines kind of converge. So let's talk about this book a little bit. Getting back on point. This is Performance of a Lifetime by Emma E. Murray. Now this is about 25 pages, so this was a quick read.
Yeah.
This is meant to be like a pamphlet or basically something handed to people at an art museum.
Yeah.
Right? So the idea is that you're supposed to be walking through an art museum, and this is listing her pieces and giving history of the pieces. And as you're doing that, you're going through the very troubled experience of this artist. Mm-hmm. It does deal with themes such as self-harm, people's perception of us in the media. Like it does say something about us as viewers, mm-hmm. right? I will applaud them for trying something different. Mm-hmm. In terms of whether or not it worked, what do you think?
The reason why I think it worked is it kind of reminded me of a thing that actually did happen. With this one woman went out into like the street of a busy city. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was like Japan, New York. No idea. She went out, took a bunch of tools, said you can do whatever you want. And there was like scissors. There's a knife, if I remember correctly. She said you can do whatever you want. And by the end, she was...
Which kind of happens in this book at one point.
Yeah.
Right? The artist does this. I did find it interesting. It is... Again, I always applaud people for doing something different, mm-hmm. for doing something like very experimental, taking a chance. I'm not 100% sure if it worked as intended, because again, the idea is supposed to be that like it's real. Right. I mean, obviously it's not real. This is a work of fiction. But it is one of those things where it's trying to be not really meta, but it's trying to be like, you know, the Blair Witch. It's supposed to be so realistic that you can believe that it's real, right? Like another example of this would be I forget the name of the movie, but it's on Shudder, where it's a talk show, and the guy is going on to the talk show. He's like a late night um, talk show. He's sort of like Colbert, but small scale, more closer to Jerry Springer than Colbert actually. And his guest claims to be possessed, only turns out the guest really is possessed, and the thing goes downhill from there. We've seen a few movies like that where people are recording a podcast or a live stream only for it to go very, very wrong. This is supposed to be that experience in book form, right? We're supposed to believe, well, not believe. Again, we know it's fiction, but with our suspension of disbelief, we're supposed to accept that this is an authentic something that was handed to us at this museum, and we're living the story. We're not just being told the story, right? So again, curious piece. I'm a little bit undecided as to whether or not it worked. I will say it was well written. It did definitely convey a story of a very disturbed artist. The story does build and escalate. It wasn't boring for anything else. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, it wasn't boring. I thought some of the stuff, um, you would think it would be outlandish, but it just kind of isn't. Which sucks. Because, I mean, on one hand, in a perfect world, I like to think there's no way anyone would be like this, actually. And then in reality, that's just not how this is. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I thought it was interesting from that perspective that, yes, this is how some people actually act. If you go online, you can easily see it. There's one part in particular in which I think that it's a little like this action is absurd. But other than that, the fact that this is stuff that you can actually go out and observe if you just do a simple Google search, I think made it really interesting and powerful for me, because this is how people are nowadays in the age where so much is out there that you become desensitized to it. So I thought, looking at it from that perspective, it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, the artist is basically letting people abuse her as part of her art, right? Um, and it's supposed to be a statement on the people that are abusing her. Um, but and as you can imagine, this just escalates to the point where it goes to a very dark and very bad end for her. Not to spoil anything. I mean, it is 25 pages. It's kind of hard to get into too much depth, but uh, yeah, I've known people, not to this extreme in this book, but people that just seem to want to go to that dark place, right? And yeah, I agree with you that it is not as far fetched as one might want to think.
Yeah, which is kind of a bummer. I think I pick it up, honestly. Just read something like this, become informed. You know what I mean? Because this book is, especially nowadays, is generally incredibly relevant. You know what I mean? When you have stuff, oh, I'm gonna get to nerd territory here. When you have stuff that is considered average, like people send, there's a team of writers for a certain show. I'm not mentioning it because I'm not that much of a nerd. And when they didn't include a certain character pairing, they sent food covered in razor blades to the writers' doors. And that was just normal. Everyone was just like, okay, that's fine. It's just stuff like that that shows that people really are this cruel and desensitized, I think, nowadays. That this is just things that people will do. You know what I mean?
They can. I don't think that is the default.
No, but
But
I think
I do think we're
with the age of the internet, you can see whatever gruesome things you want online. People are starting to see it from a young age, so become desensitized to it. It's just kind of, you know, it's just kind of how things are going to be with the internet and all, especially in an age like now where more and more parents are just handing their children iPads and iPhones and being like, oh yeah, do yourself a day. There's a reason why not only are kids becoming more sensitized, they're also lacking foundational motor skills that they require. It's, you know, what else?
Is that why your signature is so bad?
No, I'm talking about those kids out there who can't like button shorts, tie shoes.
Your signature is actually, and I was a little surprised about this. They never taught you cursive writing.
No, they did.
So
They taught me cursive. I just forgot it.
anyway,
No, it's like whatevs. I just kind of forgot it. I'm working on. I need to practice my new signature.
yeah, you gotta get the swirly that's completely illegible. That's a proper signature. When you're
Yeah.
looking at going like, yeah, Alemoyka, it's like that's a signature.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours is way too legible. That can't go. That's got to change.
No, like this is. That's.
Okay. Anyway, so moving on. So and again, we're just going to rapid fire these because we have, these are very short entries, right?
Mhm.
So it's not like any one of these has got a lot to talk about. So we're doing a lot of little ones in this episode. So the next one we got is from Dead Sky, and this is issue number 1 of their comic Permadeath. Now in this episode or this issue, we have 2 short stories. Very very creep showish type of thing, kind of throwback to those older comics. Very Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone-ish kind of vibe to them.
Mhm.
So what did you think of the first story?
The first story was interesting. One thing I do one thing that was kind of weird about it though was how it's like there's this one character who, when hearing about the bad stuff that the old guy leaving his body is going to do,
Well, they're all old guys. But
well, yeah, but one of them is like, I dishonored my ancestors. When, just stop him. He's drinking a tea here. He told you he was gonna do it. Just don't, do it. You know what I mean? Just.
So the short story is basically there's a bunch of guys in an old folks home, and they are experimenting with astral projection. And one of the guys that was going, I guess it was his second trip or something like that, he's going, oh, I'm going to have fun in ghost form. And the guy you're referring to, which is the Native American guy, was basically saying, don't do that. Don't be an ass. And he astral projects, and he's an ass. And there were some very negative consequences.
Yeah.
That's the first story in a nutshell, without trying to be too spoilery. The second one was about a guy that was on a marathon video game.
Mm-hmm.
He was like Twitch streaming or something. What did you think of the second one? I thought the first one was a stronger story.
The first one was a stronger story. The second one was like I didn't think it was too great, but I thought it was okay, I'd say.
So there was that weird thing where I guess he short out the machine and he became part of the game or tied to the game. So when his character got stabbed, he died, and then there was sort of this like kind of almost random thing at the end.
Yeah, where his cat eats his dead body.
Well, I was trying to avoid the spoiler parts, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It was definitely the weaker of the 2 stories.
Yeah.
Wasn't a bad story. The art, I thought, actually, in the second one was a little bit stronger.
I disagree. I thought the first one was good. first.
I thought no, I mean I'm not dissing the art in the first one. I think the art throughout is good. I just thought that um the art in the second one was a little cleaner. Um the first one had more kind of like it looked almost I don't want to say pastels, but like soft pencil
Mhm.
type thing. Whereas the second one looked more solid colors, more like it was done on Photoshop kind of thing.
Yeah, I like the colors in the first one a bit more. Just because the colors are generally a bit better. Um,
But it does seem like a slightly different style between the first and the second.
Definitely the first one, definitely has a better use of colors, I feel, but they're both good. That's what I believe. Yeah, no, they're both good. Give it a read. It's not like it's gonna cost you much money or that much time.
So at the same time we met the guys over at Permadeath, we met the guys over here at Dead Sky. And we got their first issue. This is issue 1 of 4 of The Swallower of Shades.
I like this one a lot. I think this one's pretty fire. On a scale of 1 to pretty fire. But no, this was pretty good. So basically, there's this traveling freak show. They get a big prize. It's this mummy. Ooh, mummy go kill people. Infighting goes crazy, and then death ensues.
So the part that I'm wondering is, does the story continue in the other 3 episodes, or are they all...
No,
Well, I mean, it does say up here in the corner,
but
1 of
also that's
4.
the one shot.
Ah, good point. You know what it reminded me a little bit of, though?
What?
Bubba Hotep.
Hmm.
Have you ever watched that one?
Nope.
That's got to be Bruce Campbell's best role ever.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever watch, you really need to watch Bubba Hotep because it's friggin' hilarious and it's fantastic. So what happens is similar to this. Now this takes place somewhere in like the 1920s or something like that, right? So this is way older. But in Bubba Hotep, it's more modern era. The movie's like 20 years old, so it's like 20 years ago. But there's a train that had like I think a museum exhibit or something like that on it. It gets knocked off the train or the truck or whatever it was, and it's a mummy, right? And so it starts to feed on the souls of the people at this old folks' home. Well, one of the people at this old folks' home is Elvis. The Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Elvis didn't die, according to this movie. Elvis wanted to take a break from being Elvis, so he swapped places with an Elvis impersonator, and the Elvis impersonator is a person who died. So the person in the old folks' home is actually like an 80-year-old Elvis.
Yeah.
Played by Bruce Campbell. Brilliantly. Right? Probably his best role ever. Right? I've seen him play roles where he's basically just himself. Right? They're fun. They're kick-ass. I've seen him in Evil Dead. I've seen him in Burn Notice. I've seen him in Black Friday. But seeing him be a geriatric Elvis is fantastic. And his best friend is a black guy who swears he's JFK.
Oh.
Apparently, according to the guy, the CIA mind switched him or something. Right? So the two of them are out to stop the mummy that is sucking out the souls of the old folks. Right? And that's where it reminds me of this, because this is, like you said, a traveling carnival. This mummy gets loose and it starts attacking the members of the carnival, and there's a sheriff that comes to investigate the first death, and he becomes involved and everything like that. So yeah, I did think the story was strong. Compared to the art of Permadeath, I thought it was good, but I think one reason I preferred the Dead Sky art was because in this one we're just black and white. which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, Walking Dead was all black and white for 15 years. They did nothing but black and white. So I mean, it's a style choice, right? It's but in terms of visuals, I preferred the colors.
I disagree. I actually think the black and white work perfectly for the theme. And the art here is actually fantastic, especially this one part stood out, the part where he's fighting in the rain. That part was phenomenal, even with the black and white. So I think this one has my favorite art out of the other ones.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not trying to say that as a slam. I'm saying it's a style choice, and my personal preference would have been for the color. But as you say, there's nothing wrong with doing it in black and white, and you preferred it that way. You thought it worked better that way. So yeah, we're just that's just personal preference at that point.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, so that's all we're covering today, because as I mentioned, we're behind on our reading. I'm behind on my reading. So we're off next week for Vampire Weekend. We will actually be there with our friends Scott Harper and Casey Cordell. They will both be at Vampire Weekend, which will be at Burbank, March 14th, 15th, and 16th. Then we have a week or two before WonderCon, which is the last weekend of March. That'll be here in Anaheim. I'm really looking forward to that one. If we have, the last time we did it, the indie author group was enormous. I mean, we were almost a whole section of the convention floor. I thought it was fantastic. I am hoping it will be that way again. It's one of the few conventions we get to go to where we get to promote Intergalactic Space Force. It is one of the few places where we get to talk to indie authors besides the horror field or the horror genre. So we get to bring to you guys a more varied set of books to review. So I'm excited about that. Then Casey Cordell just emailed me about an event in April. So I'm going to look into that. It's actually from our friends at Spooksy Boo. We've done one of their shows a couple of years ago in October.
It was the second one. It was the second one we ever did.
Yeah. Yeah, because we met them at San Diego Comic-Con. And that one was interesting. What really kind of pissed me off about that one, and this was not on Spooksy Boo, this was just bad luck, is the third weekend we were supposed to do this, because it was every weekend in October, and I signed up for every other one. And the last weekend we were supposed to do it, I got COVID.
Yeah.
And so I spent my birthday with your mother in the bedroom. The whole, for a week.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, on the plus side, I was with your mother. There are worse fates than being stuck in a room with your mother for a week. But I think after a week, we were both getting a bit stir crazy, and but I had to miss the event. Never got my money back. I mean, didn't ask for my money back. There was, when you sign up for these things, it's kind of you miss the date, you're out of luck. That's just the deal, right? So whenever I do one of these things, I always get a little paranoid as we start getting towards the event that something bad is going to happen. I'm going to have to bow out, because if I bow out, you don't get your money back. The vendor's going to get upset because there's going to be an empty booth. If you have a good excuse, like what happened with our friend Chris Williams, like he told San Diego Comic-Con, it's like, yeah, no, I can't go to the thing because my house burned down. San Diego Comic-Con was kind enough to hold his spot for the next year, which was very kind of San Diego Comic-Con. But generally speaking, if you don't have a good excuse for not showing up for that event, they blacklist you, right? So I'm always paranoid that something bad's going to happen right before one of these events that's going to keep me from having to go. So I'm always like this right before we get to an event. May, we have 3 events scheduled.
Mhm.
We have halfway to Halloween at the first weekend. Then we have a 1-day only event in Pasadena, which is the Pasadena Comic-Con. And then we have Monsterpalooza, which I'm really excited about. I also heard back we did not get into Creep It Real OC.
Oh.
They have passed on us second time. So, which is a shame. But to be honest, I've never seen any indie authors or horror authors at Creep It Real. So it could be that we are just not the vendors they're looking for at that event.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is a shame because we actually do pretty decently at these things. So, and then I did sign us up, so it's official, for Creep It Real Aftermath in September, and Son of Monsterpalooza in October.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll keep adding more dates to our schedule. Hey, every weekend we sell stuff is a weekend you have a chance to earn some commission.
Joy.
Hey, if you don't want to earn money.
I don't get an option if I go to most of these, so it's like...
Yeah, usually he sits on his ass, looks at his phone, and I pay him for that anyway. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, no.
I gotta start tracking your sales. Actually pay you by sales you make.
Usually I just kind of like chillax. I don't get an option to be there. It's just kind of like you have to be with me, and I'm just like...
Well, it is helpful to have somebody to watch the booth if I ever have to run to the bathroom, somebody to get lunch. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can I do it by myself? I have done it by myself. I did Monsterpalooza by myself. It was a pain. It was a royal pain. Especially the setup and breakdown. Like if we set up for Monsterpalooza, if I had you for Friday for setup, I usually bring your mother because your mother's off on Fridays and you have school. So if I have your mother for setup on Friday and the help breakdown on Sunday, and I have to handle it by myself on Saturday, that's doable. But it kind of sucks because, first of all, heaven forbid if you have to take a pee break, right? You're there for like 8 hours straight. But by the end of the thing, you're hungry and everything like that. Even worse if you got to set up or break down by yourself, because that's a lot of work, right? But most importantly is the one time I had to do Monsterpalooza without you,
mm-hmm.
I really missed you.
Oh. Odd.
I mean, odd.
You're odd for that one.
I missed you.
Anyways, chat. If you...
I am trying to say that I missed spending time with my son.
Based. Anyways, chat.
That is your reaction. I'm trying to say that I appreciate spending time with my son, that I love my son, and your reaction is base?
This is the at the end. Base, duh. That's pretty neat.
Sorry, base, duh.
There you go. You did it. Good job.
How about I love you too, Father?
I love you too, Father.
I still feel the love.
Yeah. Anyways, original gangsters. If
You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. I swear to God.
if you wanna find us anywhere, go to shopspectreinc.com. That's where we sell books, blankets, dildos.
No
shoes.
dildos. I don't know how many times I have to tell you. We do not sell dildos on our website.
Yeah.
Repeat after me. No dildos on the website.
No dildos yet on the website.
No sex toys of any sort.
No sex toys of any sort on the website yet.
Ever.
Yet.
Ever.
Yet.
I am not putting sex toys on our bookstore. No. If I was going to do that, I'd make a whole separate website. I'd keep them separate.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to conflate the two.
I don't know. There'd probably be some pretty decent sellers. I'm just saying.
If I did do that, I would do it with those geek ones that we showed you the one time. Remember?
Toodaloo, chat. Bye.
Oh no! Come on! You're going to talk about that? Oh my God! Okay, I'm going to edit that out then. I'm going to just edit that out then.
I think it's funny if you keep it in.
Well, because it's got no context now.